somebody considering a house purchase, and they're just on that mindset of you go to your local school, you know,
Yeah.
and it's hard to go to any school other than the local school within the geography. And they kind of have a sense, if you've been in LA long enough, that there are some other options. There's some charter options, so maybe that's an option. But you hear often that's a lottery system, and that's true. It is a lottery system. There are gifted programs that maybe you can be defined gifted and move into, but you're kind of in the back of your mind, you're thinking, all right, as a default, my local school has to be my option. I can't count on anything else.
Well, that's the thing, So I'll call them Mary and Jane. I think Mary and Jane know who they are, or Mary and John rather. Um, we found a place for them, and they were new buyers. They've owned homes before in other parts of the nation, but LA's a different world, as we all know. And it was the perfect house. It was their first offer. It was accepted. It all looked great, didn't it, Darren? And then we got to the final contingencies to release, and they stopped. They paused. They did some research about the local school, which was great news. They already knew it was a great school, right? But then the pollution issue came in. It was right next to a freeway.
Right.
And so that really concerned them for their 3.5-year-old. But it stopped the train really, really fast. And we spoke with them, right? We gave them what we knew. But there were a lot of unknowns, right? In sort of going through this maze of what LAUSD offers in terms of magnets, charters, and, as you said, the local schools. So from there, how did we counsel them a bit, Darren? Where did we go?
Well, I think we had to, and they obviously had to do this quickly.
Yeah.
I shared my own personal experience with them about my son and the local school, and where he ended up. He ended up in a gifted magnet, and kind of some of the components that helped that happen. And I think that's one of the most important things when you're applying to other schools. There are some quotas to be met. They want diversity. Even though they're charters, they still need to meet some of those quotas. They have to meet some of the standards that LAUSD requires, some testing
Hmm.
standards, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so they had to get a much better sense of what was realistic. Was it really just, a 10% chance to get into a second option or a third option?
Yeah.
Or what can you do to increase your odds to get into some of these primary options if it's not the local school? And
Right.
and that's where it just in the middle of the conversation. This is why often, Joe, with you and I both on the call, it really does help. It was like, oh yeah, we spoke with somebody about schools in the past whose primary job was just coaching parents on getting them on what's possible and how to navigate the school system, not the private school, and maybe that's even a component, but the public school options, which include programs, specialized programs, gifted programs, charters, etc. Um, and most of the schools, like the school in my neighborhood, is a very good school, but it had because of the change in demographics in a lot of the
Hmm.
communities that we serve, it almost was taken over by a charter and would no longer have been a traditional LAUSD school because they were under enrolled just because a lot of the kids had shifted demographically. And so they
Right.
went to open enrollment, and people from other neighborhoods were coming into this school. And I think that's happened throughout the city. Often there's a few schools that we have to go the other way. We think of like Mount Washington and Franklin and Ivanhoe, very specifically around us, where we say, well, in that case, you're not guaranteed to get into that school if you move into the geographical region. I
Right.
think you have
It's
a
not a
better,
guarantee.
not a guarantee, because they could be overpopulated. They can't. It's possible you'll be sent out to another option. So I think it's always good as a parent to have multiple options. Obviously,
Yeah.
you come up with a primary, you want to go there. And this particular client, as you mentioned, their 3.5-year-old daughter, she's not looking to get into school for
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
But they were obviously choosing a house based on what their options would be. So they have some time to work the system now and make connections
Yeah.
and figure out how to try to get their child into a school of choice.
Well, that's the thing. By the end of the conversation, I know we did everything we could from our experience and what we knew. Uh, but, very smart parents, they had done a lot of research. They really wanted, as you say, measure those percentages and see what the risks are and see what the opportunities might be. They didn't feel secure about that. So, about, I don't know, a couple years ago, I was at a seminar with a lady named Tanya Anton. Her website is gomamaguide.com. I just put it in the chat for you. And she is, as Darren said earlier, an LAUSD school consultant. And she expressly works with parents that want to know how to work the system intelligently, obviously with a guide and experienced person. So, deadline was what, 1 p.m. the next day? We were at like 5 or 6 p.m. The day before, and they were able to get a quick 30 minutes with her. And, I followed up with her, Darren, on the situation, and she gave him what we hoped, which was there is a way to work the system. She also talked about trends for her. There's a lot of movement going on, right? Because of COVID, because of jobs being, you can work a job remotely now. And so she actually put a more optimism on it in terms of, because of these changes going on in the last couple years, that there's better chances to get what you want. And that gave them enough assurance in 30 minutes. It was very impressive that they went on with the deal. So.
Yeah. The reality is, in all of these, any of these consultants, professional advisors, if you get to the point, to the heart of the matter, and you clearly know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
that's all you need. You don't need a lot of time. You just need
Right.
something real, something concrete that you can go forward with. And as you said, Joe, she provided that in a 30-minute consultation.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. So somewhat of an endorsement here. It certainly worked for one of our clients. When I spoke with her, Darren, she said she's probably talked to 300 some odd people or parents in the last year and a half or so. So she's very busy, but she's got a good system. She's very organized, and she definitely knows what she's talking about. So check that out.